And welcome back to El Porto, the Primera Ref show. We've had match day 4 of fixtures all completed now, and it has been a fantastic weekend of football. I'm your this evening, and I'm delighted to say I'm being joined by my co-host Liam Bambridge once again. So pleasantries first, Liam. How are you doing this evening?
Not bad at all. We've got a little bit of unfinished business, haven't we, from, is it week 3 to deal with this week? But yeah, you're right, all the week 4 fixtures were played. And plenty of excitement, plenty of talking points as always.
Yes, and the Liam curse was broken after 1 week of being introduced. We managed to get through an entire fixture list without anything being called off at your beck and call, Liam. So that's absolutely brilliant. Maybe some other unfinished business as well that we might have. Just looking towards the news, we did speak last week about Oriera being on, very limited time, very much a matter of if not when. And I think about an hour after we were finished recording, he was potted, wasn't he, Liam?
It was a weird one, wasn't it? Because we thought he was going to be sacked. We knew he was going, and then it turned out he was actually off to I think it's NK Istra or something like that, isn't it? Over in the Balkans. So he not only was awful, but managed to get another job straight out of it, which meant they didn't have to pay him any compensation or anything. So a good bit of result for Unionistas, and they brought in Mario Simon, who is the former Intercity coach, and he had a quite eventful first weekend in the dugout, didn't he? We'll talk about that a bit later, maybe.
Yes, I'm sure that will maybe pop up in a little while. And but nice to see him outside of Murcia as well, because I had a little look over his history, and he hasn't really had too many jobs outside of the southeast of Spain. So, why not go to Salamanca? It's a beautiful city and a great chance for him to prove himself at Unionistas this season. Looking at next, another team that will be playing at home finally is Cacereno. Obviously, this weekend they once again played down at the Estadio Francisco Lejera. And but now they're going to be returned to the Príncipe Felipe, Liam, aren't they? I think it's been confirmed for October the 11th, week 8 of the fixtures.
Yeah, I think it's October the 11th, isn't it? It's that week 7 actually, I think. Yeah. So yeah, it's coming soon. Put it that way. They must have 2 away games in a row now, which I suppose is a bit of a schlep, isn't it? When they've already played their 2 home games an hour away in Extremaduran in Almendralejo. But yeah, it's finally happening, and that's great news for them. And talking of October 11th, we did finally get about 20 minutes before we've come on air, we did finally get those fixtures for week 7. But I don't know about you, Nick, but my elementary maths is obviously failing me here, because I'm fairly sure somewhere along the way we were promised that we would have the fixtures from week 4 3 weeks in advance. We're about to start week 5, and we've only just had week 7 confirmed. I think 5 + 3 equals 8, doesn't it, Nick? So I'm slightly trying to work out how it is that promise has already been broken, and slightly trying to work out how it is really that difficult to sort out the fixtures, especially now they've got this closer relationship, I should say, with La Liga, and Segunda at the moment is pumping out the fixtures 4 or 5 weeks in advance. So it's just embarrassing, isn't it, really? I don't know why they can't sort it out, and it will continue to be something at which we will complain unless they do sort it out.
Yeah, it's really difficult to see, and we'll keep harping on about this. But the season when Malaga were down there and they did the 6 months in advance, and nothing went disastrously wrong, Liam. Nothing broke, nothing fell over. There was no unhappy people. So I can't understand why A, they rolled back on that, and B, even taking a leaf out of the Liga's book, and obviously with the new TV deals and things like that, why they are now behind the curve of the notoriously bad at releasing fixtures with La Liga and Segunda. It's a really bad look.
I think so, because never mind the fact that it takes less of a centre stage at PrimeraFederación, of course, than either La Liga or Segunda. The distances involved to travel are just as significant. These are in theory regional groups, as we know. Tarazona have got to go to Andalusia several times this year. There's some mammoth trips in there, and it requires some planning, doesn't it? And to be told about these fixtures, as I say, we're just about to start week 5, and we're sort of just operating 2 and a bit weeks ahead. Is it really that difficult to stick to what they promised us about a month ago, which is that we will confirm the fixtures 3 weeks in advance from week 4, and they're just not doing that. So very, very irritating.
Yes, very, very irritatingly, and hopefully it will get better sooner rather than later, which will be very, very nice. But I'm not going to hold my breath, Liam.
I mean,
Should we do football fixtures from this weekend? Because we had some suggestions of games to watch, and your Grupo Uno suggestion, the first one out of the box on Friday evening, what a pick, Liam! What a pick this was.
yeah, I realised after looking back that I'd ignored that derby in Extremadura between Cacereno and Merida, which I felt a bit bad about. Yeah, this one was always going to make my shortlist as soon as I looked at the fixtures closely, and what a game it was. And not so much for the Ponferradina fans. It finished Ponferradina 1, Deportivo Guadalajara 3. And I just, it's so weird, isn't it? Because when you first raised Guadalajara as a potential playoff team, I was very happy to go along with your optimism, but I didn't really think there was an awful lot of substance to it, shall we say. I think you were kind of like me, rather drawn by our interactions with a lot of very nice Deportivo Guadalajara fans on social media, and also the lovely kit, as we mentioned many times. But you know what, Nick, this team is a decent team. We're only 4 weeks into the season, but after that first day defeat against Tenerife, which looking at what's happened since is no big deal, really. Wow, I was just absolutely astonished by how well they played in this game. I think the one word I would use to describe it is fearless, Nick. I just thought the whole approach to the game, especially the second half, was utterly fearless, and they got their just rewards.
No, I'd 100% agree on that as well. And maybe, if we look across temporarily to the other side of the groups, we could say the same things about Europa, for example, who we'll come on to talk on later. But the difference between those two sides for me is how much more polished would be the word I would use that Guadalajara looking compared to Europa. And you're absolutely right. They do look fearless. They've gone to, El Torolin here, and they've gone to take on, playoff finalists from the last 2 seasons, a former Segunda club, and they've not blinked at all. They've taken the challenge on here. And yes, we'll caveat it with, Ponferradina aren't in great form right now. They've, lost a few decent players in the summer, but a club of like this should be really, giving Guadalajara a bit of a test, but it really wasn't. It was like it was the opposite way around, wasn't it?
I think the first half, to be fair, I think Ponferradina were probably the better side, or certainly had the better chances, and they gave Guadalajara a goal in the sense that, one of these decisions about playing out from the back that goes wrong again. Samuel Mayo, who was really impressive throughout for Depor. I would like to call him Depor because when I think of Depor, I do just think of Deportivo La Coruña. But we've got a new Depor in town, haven't we? Really, Nick, and what a pleasure it is to have them with us. And yeah, he put one up at half time. I think the biggest thing for me here about this was that they gave away a silly goal themselves. A back pass that was under hit, and Iker Benito came in, sneaked in. He came on, I think, at half time. Iker Benito. Reunion last year, wasn't he? So he's a decent striker. He went at half time, scored the equaliser within the first few minutes of coming on, and I just expected Ponfe to push on from there. I just thought this is a game they're going to go and win 2 or 3-1, and the manner of how they conceded the goal as well. Depor, I just thought this looks like it's going to be, it's going to revert to type. It's going to be a comfortable home win. Not a bit of it. They were superb after that. They played some lovely football, as you say, polished. They passed the ball really well. They moved the ball through the thirds beautifully, and they took till 7 minutes from time to get back in front. But, again, a lovely goal, ball in from the right. Salifo dummies it. Pablo Munoz comes in behind it, slots it in the corner, and then Salifo in injury time. He's got a man square. He should pass it. He just side foots it in the bottom corner, cool as you like. He just looks a hell of a play. We talked already about, obviously, Barbara at Unionistas was owned by Tenerife. Salifo was also owned by Tenerife. I don't need either of these two at the moment. My goodness me, are they making waves out on loan at other PrimeraFederación clubs?
Yeah, and I think I was looking into Salifo as well, because obviously we can maybe give a bit of credit to, whether we like it or not, to Real Madrid Castilla for Baba, because obviously he's come through their system and been picked up by Tenerife this summer. But Salifo's homegrown. He was playing for Tenerife Bay last season. He's taken the step up on loan with Guadalajara, got himself into what looks like a decent side straight off the bat as well. He's had to earn his position, and he's being repaid with goals, and he's looking very, very confident and a very, very, brilliant striker for this level. I think it was like three goals in 2 games now for him. He's just, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it's just the coolness which he takes this. I mean, the pressure's off in a sense they're winning 2-1. It's really almost the last kick of the game, and he just slots it. I was just like, pass it. And of course, he knew best. And it's a great finish and a great performance overall. Really worrying times for Ponfe. It must have been a very long time ago now since that sort of opening day stroll in Avilés. And they were, I think, 3 up at half time, weren't they? They lost the last 3. They just need to get back on track quickly now. They have got the squad there, I believe, to challenge at the top end. They did bring in a few players late on in the transfer window, and I think that they now look like a side that can repeat what they've done the last couple of seasons in terms of making the playoffs, but they need to get back on track quickly. And right now, they look a little bit off it. And it isn't a good sign for them, but really great news for a newly promoted side who, it's a very long way to go. We've still played 4 games out of 38, but what an encouraging start.
Is it time to pull the bowler cord though for Ponfe? There was talk of it in the summer. Is Estevez in a bit of danger here?
I don't think so. I mean, he's only just come in, hasn't he? Really, he's got a good record at this level. I don't think Ponfe strike me as being the kind of club that will panic, in this situation. So we'll see. But yeah, they need to get a couple of wins under their belt. And you look at the games that they've lost. The teams have lost. They've lost to 2 newly promoted sides at home. So it's not like they've had an incredibly taxing first 4 games. They've played 3 promoted sides, beat one of them comfortably, and then since then lost a couple and really not played very well in either of those games for chunks of it. So yeah, it is early days, but there are some worrying signs there. My next game was the one that probably I should have avoided and given the 3rd place to Cacereno against Merida. Arintela Zamora, of course, easy to say that with hindsight ended 0-0. Not a classic. There were some talking points. Not many of them surrounded great saves either, and a couple of routine saves for each keeper. Penalty appeals at each end not given. We've seen plenty of those since FES came in, haven't we? The appeals seem to be mostly for penalties, don't they? That invariably aren't given. One big mistake from the Zamora keeper, Diego Garcia, rushed out his goal and got rounded by Mingo. But then, despite the fact that Mingo smashed one in the week before, on this occasion, he just didn't hit with enough power and the ball sort of trickled towards the goal line. And it gave the Zamora defender a chance to clear it before it crossed the line. I thought Eslau was a bit disappointing, but again, it's about service, isn't it, really? Didn't get much service. He had 1 effort off target, didn't really do much overall. And I suppose the biggest talking point, I don't know if you saw this, Nick, was this red card handed out to, I think it's Luca Lord at the heart of the Taylor defence. It was then rescinded after an FES appeal. What did you make of that? Did you see that incident, or was this one that escaped you from your copious watching of the highlights this weekend?
This is one that escaped me, unfortunately, in terms of the scoreline read 0-0, and I thought, maybe I'll put that towards the last part of it. So, yeah, you might have to tell me about this, but I'm happy to see it rescinded, to be fair, because it was the bloody afternoon of red cards that Saturday, wasn't it, as well? So this is probably a good statistic.
It was a bit mental, to be honest, but he's red carded because he's the last man, and I think it's a red card. I really do. I think he does take the guy out. He is clear on goal after that, but it was quite extraordinary. I don't think I've seen that yet from FES. A red card that is completely rescinded. I didn't even see him show it yellow. It's almost like he decided it wasn't a foul at all. Not really sure what happened there at all. I only saw the highlights of this one, so you're very reliant on what the TV people give you to watch. It was meant to be red. It ended up being nothing. And also, I thought Anita a little bit unlucky at the end. Very marginal offside call in about the 96th minute when they scored what they thought was their winner. So not great from Zamora overall. We tipped them, didn't we, to do really well. And what's interesting for me about this is that obviously they signed these 3 strikers, Carbonell, Farrell, and Islava. They've only scored 2 goals in the first 4 games, although admittedly Islava missed 2 of those 4 games. And they've just got the 1 win, So they also not quite in quite as bad a place as Ponferradina, because they've not lost yet, but they've only won 1, so 1 win, 3 draws, and just 2 goals. That's not great, I don't think, for their expectation. I don't think they'd want to be in that position given the money they spent. Would they, Nick, after 4 games?
Absolutely not. And I think as well, we focus on the strikers that they've signed, and obviously they are your main source of goals. And when you sign 3 of them who scored the best part of over 20 goals last season between a lot of them, you would expect more. But they also went quite, expensive on the backup to that as well. They signed some decent players in midfield. They strengthened at the back too, and I suppose we can say that the defense is doing their job with them not losing any games. But it's just a bit underwhelming for what we were expecting. And for me, I think the manager obviously deserves time to implement his ideas and have the chance to establish himself with this new side. But again, when you're maybe the owners of Zamora and you've committed, because this isn't a massive club either. Let's not forget, this isn't a Hercules or an Alcorcon or something like that could maybe spend some money and get back into Segunda. This is a team taking a massive punt, and they're going to want results sooner rather than later, I imagine. So it'd be interesting to see what happens after this weekend's game against Merida, whether something maybe changes in the dugout for Zamora.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. It clearly is a significant financial investment that they've made. And let's not forget, they only came into PrimeraFederación last season. So that they've seen themselves go quite close with what they were spending and decided to really up the ante on the financial side of things. And yeah, it is only 4 games, of course, as we keep saying, but it's not been a particularly convincing start from them. And I think, as you say, the coach, if he doesn't start really beginning to get the best out of this squad, and I'm not sure he is at the moment, I think he could soon come under a lot of pressure, as you say, to be moved on. One coach who will be mighty relieved after this weekend, I would think, would be our friend Senor Iglesias at Lugo. Because again, I know it's very early days, but they hadn't won until this weekend, and I think this is exactly what they needed. They took on Racing Club de Ferrol and beat them 2-1 on their own turf. And, really decent game this was. And it's a big win because, we haven't mentioned this result, of course, because it was after we recorded last week. But I think the Ferrol had gone to Real Madrid Castilla last week, midweek on a Wednesday, I think it was, and beaten them on their own turf. So that was 3 wins out of 3 for them. And Lugo, no wins out of 3 for them. So it was a big game. And Lugo came out on top by 2-1, and I suppose as well the fact they came from behind. They conceded the first 10 minutes. Header, I think, was a towering header from a corner by Falaya for the visitors. But then I don't know, I don't know what Miguel was doing there. I think the Ferrol fullback just a wild lunge, wasn't it? Really? Did you agree with the red card for that? I don't know what else the referee could have done. Really, I mean, I think they appealed it, but it's just unsurprisingly it wasn't overturned.
No, I think when you commit yourself like that to the challenge, you run the risk of putting yourself into the book. At least is probably the way I'm going to look at it. And we can keep saying as well that this was a weekend where the referees were particularly trigger happy with the cards, but I've got no disagreement with this one, Liam. He's been a bit overzealous there for me, and rightly was sent for an early shower.
Yeah, very much so. You can't catch somebody that high on I think it was on the shin, wasn't it? You just can't do that. Whether he just mistimed it, I'm sure there was no malice intended, but it's a red card all the way for me. But they hung on. The 10 men hung on. I think Pastrana hit the bar for Lugo in the second half, got top of the bar. And they were 6 minutes away from winning this, I think, Club de Ferrol. And then Raniero was like for exactly the same spot as Falaya had scored early on in the game, same end of the pitch, headed an equaliser from across, I think, to the right. Possibly a foul, one of those where the guy who scores thinks he's just used his strength to hold off the defender thinks he's been fouled. But even then, 1-1, 93rd minute, you think, at least the joint league leaders have managed to get away with a point here. And then I don't know what was going on. I know they were 1 man down, but Josep Gallard came in and met a corner completely unmarked. It wasn't exactly the classiest finish. He just sort of got something on it, thigh or knee or something, but bundled it in from quite close range. And that could be such a big moment in Lugo's season, I think, to beat a good side for having been behind and looking like they were going to lose it. Confidence-wise, must do a massive favour to that side of their psychological viewpoint going forward. And yeah, I think this is a team that plays nice football, and I'd like to see them up there, and I expect them to be up there. And this is a small step in the right direction, but a step nevertheless.
Yeah, this feels like a great opportunity to reset for Lugo, because I think as well, when we've watched the Lugo games in the previous 3 jornadas, they've not been bad. But they've not been great either. And obviously, the results haven't come through them that way. But this is a decent result against a former Segunda side who we've tipped to be up there as well, alongside Tenerife. Who quite easily could have had 4 wins from 4 as well if they hadn't been clipped back by Lugo. And I think going back to how we discussed in the preview from the start of the season, Lugo have really got potential there, and if they can carry on grinding out results like this against, let's call a spade, Liam, there will be worse teams, or not worse teams, but less powerful teams that come to the Ancho Carro this season. And if they can keep getting results like this, whether it's scoring the 93rd minute or not, they'll be up there, thereabouts, won't they?
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a squad that's been built to be at least a playoff challenger, and it's a very important victory for them. I don't think they were great in this game, but as you say, they ground it out, and they got a little bit of luck late on, or a little bit of casual defending that helped them on their way in terms of the winner. And I would think they would push on from this, but we know it's such a competitive division, so they're far from convincing me as player contenders yet, in terms of what we've seen so far. But let's revisit them in a few weeks and see if they're steadily climbing, because I expect them to do so. But we shall see. Should we move on to Grupo Dos, 3 games, and we'll start in the capital, I think, won't we? In the Estadio Santo Domingo.
We shall. So Alcorcón, who obviously started this game week in 2nd position after that win against Antequera last week, and entertaining Torremolinos, which I thought was going to be quite an exciting game, really, because Alcorcón have proven themselves to be quite handy going forward in recent games. They've obviously had some fantastic results aside from the opening match day, and Torremolinos, despite being plucky, have found themselves being on. They've got the ability to be turned over, let's say. But I tell you what, in this game, I was quite impressed with both sides. I think largely in the first half, Liam, Alcorcón were very much on top, where the Aprizio and Mariano looking very, very lively to begin with. They were really testing Javi Suencar on several occasions, a couple from distance as well. I don't know if you saw Mariano go down looking for a penalty. I wasn't quite impressed with this. He sort of like spun away from 5 players, which again beggars belief in terms of the marking from Torremolinos for this one. But he managed to get himself out of a tricky situation, and then all of a sudden chucks himself onto the ground. So that's not what we want to see for Alcorcón's number 9, do we?
I wasn't sure here whether he did get clipped. I just thought that the way he went down, and I thought also the telling sign here was that the defender threw his arms out as if to say, I never touched him. So I'm not sure. I mean, because he was in such a good position, I always think with strikers in that situation, why would they go down? He is in there. So I wasn't sure. But again, I didn't watch this game in its entirety, and so I have no idea if they appealed it or not. But we moved on to the next highlight. So if they did, they got nowhere with their appeal. But I thought there was a decent shout for a penalty there, if I'm honest. And then
I see.
You didn't think so?
Yeah. No, I think he went down a bit like an ironing board, if you ask me. And you can always tell from I don't want to say it was a dive. Maybe it was, playful acting is what we'll call it. But he's just too straight-legged for me. When you're in a running position, to go down in a perfect 180-degree angle is very suspicious to me. But I'm with you entirely. And a player who has got his tail up like Mariano in the minute, why wouldn't you just have a pop and goal? Or at least try and put it back into the mixer to see whether, one of your teammates can take advantage from it there. It seemed a bit pointless to me, but I suppose only he will know why he may or may not have deserved a penalty, Liam. Obviously, it wasn't too long until they got their first goal. It's one of these free kicks that seemingly makes its way through a crowd of players once again. We've seen about 4 of these this season, haven't we?
I think there's deflection there, wasn't it? I think it came off somebody. I think Aparicio will be given the goal because he was on target basically, but you couldn't understand it. I think because he deflected it, or you tried to boot it away and perhaps shinned it or something. I'm not sure what it was, but I think there was a touch on the way through. But you would expect somebody to get a more decisive touch on it, and I could only think that the contact, the miskick, what we would call the missed time clearance, basically fooled the keeper, and the slice sort of meant that it was wrong-footed, or it just went over his arms or whatever. But it was a fairly ugly goal, wasn't it, to be fair? But well deserved, as you say, for Alcorcón. They deserved to be had at that stage, and they really should have been out of sight by half time for me, I thought. But then Torremolinos came back pretty strong in the second half, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought the halftime tea talk must have definitely worked because, it all seemed to be a bit one-way traffic for a little while for Torremolinos in the second half. Like I say, or like you say, Alcorcon should have been, maybe 3 or 4 up after that first half because they definitely had the chances. They did have the ball in the net, though, in the second half, Liam, but it was up to FBS to rule it out. Do you think that was correctly ruled out for a foul on Fernandez?
No, see, I don't think FES did rule this out, Nick. I think this is an absolute joke from my perspective because the ball's clipped over the top. I think it's minimal contact. I'm not sure who gets down the line. So left back and the Alcorcon left back knocks it into the centre and it's finished. And the referee, after he witnesses what he later decides is a foul, he witnesses this happen and he plays on. He waits for the ball to go in the net. He can't play an advantage there because he's decided that the foul is on the Torremolinos defender. He needs to blow his whistle straight away. He doesn't blow his whistle. The ball is pulled back and then duly finished. And then he blows his whistle after the ball's gone in the net. And this is look at disbelief with the Alcorcon players who do then look at the bench and go, you need to refer this one. This is ridiculous. There's no way for me it's a foul. And sure enough, he goes over to the FES system and duly upholds his decision. Absolutely shocking. So for me, a huge strike of luck there for Torremolinos because it looked like a perfectly good goal to me. Yes, the defender goes down, but it's minimal contact. I cannot believe that he gave a foul for that. And I cannot believe that he waited until the ball was in the net. He should have blown straight away if he thought it was a foul.
No, I think I would definitely agree on it being very, very softly in terms of, you're a centre back, defending your goal from that position. Then there's one rule and one rule only from there, and that is if in doubt, kick it out. And it just didn't seem to go that way, and he was rightly robbed. And it would have been a good goal as well. Let's not forget. So shame for Alcorcon in that position, and then the ultimate punishment came shortly afterwards, didn't it? With a Beke Polo. As I'm going to say his name. I don't know if I've said that right, Liam. I don't know if you can correct me on that one. But you know what? Quite a well-worked goal for Torremolinos, really. It was some good interplay and a really tidy finish from the double P.
Yeah, I think it's Beke Polo. I think you're right. Yeah. To me, a nice goal. But at that point, as you say, they must have been kicking themselves, Alcorcon, because Torremolinos were better in the second half. But they still didn't create a huge amount by way of clear-cut chances. And then all of a sudden, they've got an equaliser and... so the sense, I think, overall for this would definitely be 2 points dropped by Alcorcon. And again, let's not forget, as far as we know, Juventud Torremolinos players are still not being paid. They haven't been paid since the start of the season. So again, impressive resilience from a team who are essentially playing for free in a semi-professional league. And hats off to them for that character that they showed. They showed it last week as well, to come from behind to win their first game in this weekend again. Although a little bit of fortune to get the point, it was a tremendously resilient display from them. One team that didn't offer an awful lot of resilience in their game was Gimnàstic de Tarragona, wasn't it, Nick? Although, is this another case of the home side being very good rather than the away side being very poor? What do you think?
I would maybe get splinters in my arse here, Liam, and say it was a bit of both. Because I know that you were watching this game, weren't we? Whilst I was out and about, and I think it's fair to say that we weren't enamoured with the first, 75 minutes of this match. The first thing I must say, I've got to say, it was a great turnout from all the fans, and especially from Moustached as well. I know it's not too far from Tarragona to Barcelona, but it was a good turnout for their away fans. Wasn't too sure how I felt about the whole red kit either, Liam. I'm used to Moustached playing red, white, and black, or or in an away kit. I don't know why they didn't play in their away kit, but yeah, it felt very, very strange. And you would think after the last couple of weeks that Moustached really needed to respond. And to be fair, they had some decent chances in the first half, but it was fairly drab, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't a great 45 minutes, I have to say. I thought Europa tried hard, but didn't really have much quality in the final third. They're obviously a difficult side to play against. It's interesting, as you say, the difference between them and Deportivo Guadalajara. I would agree that Europa still play some nice football, but it is a lot to do with energy and really put themselves about and in some ways almost tiring out the opposition. And this is how it panned out, really, wasn't it? I felt like they just ran the legs off Gimnàstic Tarragona across the sort of first 70 minutes and then essentially went on and dominated the last 20 minutes and deservedly won the game.
Yeah, we got pointed out to us on Twitter today about Ivan Gonzalez, who I know we spoke about during the Torremolinos game, first game of the season, where they went away to Andalusia and won. He's ridiculously but impressively long hair, very unusual for a player his size, but he is a proper engine. And between him, Vacas and Canyo, you're absolutely right. They just ran Moustached ragged, and eventually it started to tell with an absolutely stupid decision from David Juncker, just to push over Gayan in the box. There was absolutely no point in doing that, was there? He wasn't going anywhere.
No, I thought it was a really, really stupid decision from an experienced player. And at a time when, although Moustached hadn't played well, as you say, it looked like they were probably going to hang on. Europa were getting up ahead of steam. But my concern is that aside from Cano, I don't see an awful lot of attacking threat. I don't know who's going to score their goals apart from Cano. I think is going to be my take on it at this stage. I know Bacchus has got a couple, but they pretty much dominated the second half, and yet with 10 minutes to go, it was still 0-0. So yeah, it was a real helping hand that the Juncker gave them. A stupid foul and Cano with a lovely penalty. This sort of stop-start technique, which I'm never quite sure whether it's okay. I kind of feel like it's a bit unfair, but and I would always trip over. I'm quite sure of that. I would stop-start again and then stumble to the ground and look like a complete arse. So I have respect for the skill required to do it. I'm just not sure if I think it's okay. You know, this kind of it's been around for a long time now, obviously, but I'm still not convinced by it. The second goal though was interesting, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was. He was Cano again with the breaking the offside trap. I think offside trap's probably a bit too kind to Moustached there. He basically just beats the high line that Moustached were playing. Goes around the goalkeeper. Goalkeeper's obviously committed to coming out of his net, and then instead of just calmly putting it in the back of the net, just rolling it over from 4 yards out, Liam, he smashes this into the back of the net, obviously in front of that really lively Europa end with all the fans and the flags in it. And between that and the stop-start penalty and the goal he scored against Villarreal Bay last weekend, I'm saying that Jordi Cano is going to be my shithouse of the season, because he is just, like I say, he's having a lot of fun this season, isn't he?
Yeah, he looks like he's got a bit of attitude to him as well. As you say, that finish was great, wasn't he? Absolutely no need to do it whatsoever. And he sort of waited as well, didn't he? Waited, and then went bang. Brilliant. So
and then straight into the fans as well.
Exactly. Yeah, we love it. We love a good dive into the fans, as you say. I'm sure that part of the reason for smashing it was because he was right in front of those adoring hardcore fans behind the goal. And of course, this win meant that they finished the weekend top of the league, which is amazing, isn't it? Really. Brilliant atmosphere there, and a brilliant feeling about this club right now. On the flip side, San Pedro, yeah, I mean, I did worry about him coming into this season. I also worried about what sort of squad that they'd assembled, how well they'd replaced the many players that had left. It's not looking great now, is it? And I think San Pedro's days are numbered. He needs to turn things around pretty quickly. I'm not even sure he's that bothered about turning things around. It never strikes me as being particularly up for this one, if I'm honest. I think it will be a case of getting somebody else in and trying to work a little bit more magic than he's currently achieving with his team. I think they're in 16th, aren't they? It's a marathon, not a sprint, and all that. But yeah, the early signs are not promising at all, are they?
I was going to say, they look like they've defrosted him. This is the kind of thing I've taken. Obviously, he was their manager, it must be about 20 years ago that he got them promoted into Spanish Segunda. And it looks like they've just pulled him out of storage.
I think he's up in top tier.
Oh, he did. Yeah, he did actually. You're right. Yeah, but it's like they've got him out of storage. And it's like he doesn't want to be there. And I know he's not as animated as Danny Vidal, because Danny Vidal was a very, passionate and vocal manager, especially on the sidelines as well. But I just look at San Pedro; he just doesn't seem interested. But I don't know if that's just his general demeanor. I don't really know.
I don't know. Yeah, I agree totally. And it's just, as you say, it doesn't fit. It feels like he doesn't want to be there, and he won't be there for much longer unless things change. I don't think. Heading down to the southeast corner of Spain for Cartagena 2, Hércules 1. What did you make of this one, Nick?
Well, there's two things I want to point out first that I saw from this game. One is the absolutely brilliant away support from Hércules fans. I know it's not a mammoth distance; it's probably an hour and a half down the coast to Cartagena. So absolutely fantastic to see. And they were bouncing for this entire game as well, despite the result. Second one, Liam, I don't suppose you saw the pictures from it inside the Estadio Catalanova. Horrible scenes, really, isn't it? Especially for visiting fans like that. They're, not to get too graphic on the old podcast here, but there was just crap everywhere, and I don't know if you've seen the picture from inside the toilet bowl, and there's maggots and worms and just grime everywhere. That's not a good look for a pretty established club with a nice ground as well. You hate to see it, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty poor, isn't it? Really poor show. I don't quite know what's happened there. They need to sort out their stadium quickly. And I know there are new owners there, aren't there? And I'm hoping they're taking note that the pictures that have been circulating, it does not portray their club in a good light, and they need to act upon that. Not impressive at all. How about the game then?
Well, on the pitch, this had all the hallmarks of being an absolute classic because, these are two sides that we are saying are going to be up there early on in the season as well. And Catania got caught out quite early on, to be fair here. It was a goal from Sotios, who put them ahead. A wonderful assist from Javi Jimenez, Liam, who, I don't know if you've spied this, he's decided to shave his head. He's quite menacingly bald now, which I think, for a player of Javi Jimenez's temperament is a dark turn. There's no way to see it.
I didn't recognize him at first, to be perfectly honest. Yeah, it's an interesting new look, isn't it?
Yeah. But a great cross from him, obviously from about the 18-yard line. Put on an absolute plate for Socios, and I thought, from the opening 25 minutes that Hercules, very much deserved their lead. I thought they were, once again showing that they were, good going forward, good at creating chances. But it wasn't long until it lasted for an equaliser, really. Cartagena, slowly got back into the game, didn't they, Liam? And this is just a brilliant finish from Cheeky, isn't it? A cheeky finish from Cheeky.
A cheeky finish from Cheeky, indeed. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a bit of him, obviously, over the last couple of seasons in Segunda. I'm not sure he's Segunda quality, but this is a brilliant header. It's a brilliant cross as well, isn't it, from Nacho Martin, I think it was. So, yeah, lovely goal from Cartagena. I mean, Hercules, I think it was against Algeciras. It might have been last week. I thought that a Stonewall penalty not given. I think they've got a penalty in this game as well that's not been given. I think it's a clear push of France. So we've seen a few of these. I know that sometimes they believe that forwards make a bit too much of it and go down too easily. But there's been a few in these last couple of weeks. I thought that's a penalty, a clear one. And this is as well. And with FES in attendance, but, the referees don't seem to want to give them, or very much they don't seem to want to give them after an appeal. I saw a very similar decision given in another game by the referee for a push in the back. In fact, it might have been the Hunker one I'm thinking of here. But, it's exactly the same. There was certainly a decision in I think it was the Sabadell game against Algeciras. There's got to be some consistency there, especially we've got technology as well. Between technology and the referees, they need to make sure that they either give them all or give none of them. And some of them are very clearly almost the same infringement, and sometimes they're being given and sometimes they aren't, which is really poor. So yeah, Hercules, I feel like, as you say, they played pretty well in this game. They've lost the game overall. What did you make there of Retul sending off?
I think he's been a bit daft here. Take it on its salvo that, he's up near the halfway line and, he's quite clearly lost his man. And he's not done anything malicious, but he's just caught him. It's a tactical foul, but you don't do tactical fouls when you're already booked. That's rule 101, isn't it? For that Retu maybe needs to decide on. So he's already been booked. He's got a second yellow. It's, a definite red for me. And it didn't necessarily massively change the game into Cartagena's favour. But when it comes to the punch, and what a punch this is, Liam. Cometh the hour, cometh the Blasis, I've put here. This is an absolute worldy goal, isn't it? From a 37-year-old legend.
Very much so, yeah. We saw, didn't we, last week that one of the Cartagena fans had De Blasis. She hadn't had De Blasis tattooed on her arm, and she said Cartagena tattooed on her arm because De Blasis had returned. And I bet she's feeling great about that right now. I bet she's thinking like it's a really good decision because, yeah, he is a great player, and this is an absolute scream, and it's right at the end of the game as well to win the game for Cartagena. So brilliant stuff. I have to say, I think Dorothea is under pressure after this result. Hercules's results have not been good in these first 4 games, but I do hope they give them a little bit longer, because I do think they've been unfortunate in pretty much every game they've played so far. I think we often say, don't we, it's not always about the results, it's about the performances. Of course, the results, the ultimate adjudicator when you're deciding whether to get rid of a coach. But I think these performances they're turning in, if they keep playing that well, they will turn things around, and I hope Dorothea gets the chance to do that. On to the roundup.
Yes, let's go into
in Murcia. Murcia on Friday night.
Yes, it was. It was Real Murcia 1, Villarreal B 1. To be honest, Liam, this game completely passed me by on Friday night. I was so enamoured with Depor against Ponfe that I forgot this even happened. And it doesn't look like we've missed much. Alex Rubio obviously scoring his first goal for Villarreal B. Let's not celebrate that too much. And then it came down to another late equaliser for Real Murcia. From I can't remember who scored it now.
I can't remember either, but I know that it must have been kind of like a real weird feeling for them, because last weekend I know that they conceded a 97th minute equaliser against I think they're playing in the capital, weren't they, against Athletic B, and then this weekend they went into the last couple of minutes of added time, losing 1-0, and scored a lovely goal, to be fair, to equalise. So, and both of those, of course, results have been against Filiales. So, robbed of two points the previous weekend and gained 1 point this weekend. So, yeah, still not convinced by them at this stage, but yeah, they will feel an awful lot better for now. I thought they played okay in this game, to be fair. I felt that they I'm not saying they deserve to win the game, but I don't think they deserve to lose it. So I'm glad that they got that late equaliser, especially as it was against the Filial, of course. Talking of Filiales, former Antequera coach Javi Medina has still not managed to get a win with his new team. Betis Deportivo 0, Athletic B 2. And again, he had a sending off to deal with in the first half, and it's the second time that's happened to him. So yeah, he's struggling there. And yeah, I did see the goals from this, but not much else. Algeciras 1, Sabadell 2. Tell me a bit about that.
Yes. 2 wins and a draw now for the newly promoted side as well, who I think we are slightly falling in love with, if not with Miguelete, as I put on social media today. And if they can score and not concede for remaining 49 minutes of their abandoned game, then they're going to be going joint top of Grupo Dos as well, Liam, let's not forget. So, yeah, it was a very good game for Sabadell, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've got a little matter of Cartagena to see off, of course, who started really well as well. But yeah, if they were to win that game tomorrow night, and you may, by the time you listen to this, you may well know the answer to that. Of course, we aren't soothsayers, so we can't tell you. But yeah, they've started really well. Interesting that Lady Alex, we always talk about that on the show. Somebody who scores against his former club, Rodrigo Escudero, did it this time. Left Algeciras in the summer and scored what turned out to be the winning goal in this one from the penalty spot. So yeah. It often happens, doesn't it? And this was another case of it. And yeah, I really like Sabadell, what I've seen him so far. He plays some really good football, and a lot to like about this club. Bilbao Athletic 1, Pontevedra 0. Now, we never, ever suggest that you watch highlights of Filiales games, do we? If you can avoid them. But I have to say, we did put this goal, I think, on our feed, didn't we? But if you haven't seen it on our feed and you can't be bothered to go and look for it whenever we posted it, you do need to check out Irurita's goal in this for Bilbao Athletic, the only goal of the game. Absolute stunner, wasn't it, Nick?
Yeah. And for the in the team of the week, he got put at left back, but he was definitely playing right back this game, wasn't he? And he's just hit it from the byline from, what are we saying, Liam? 40?
Well, certainly 25, 30 yards. It's an absolute beauty, isn't it? Yeah, he's executed that one perfectly. He's beaten Marqueta as well in the Pontevedra goal. He's no mean keeper, so it's an absolute cracker. And the good news about it as well is that it happened quite early on in this game, so you could just switch off the highlights after that, watch about the first 40 seconds or so, and then forget the other 2.5 minutes or so. You just have to watch the first little bit, but it's definitely worth watching just for this one goal. Cacereno 2, Merida 1. Apologies to all those Extremaduran football fans for not including this in my 3 games to watch in Grupo Uno. I don't know how I managed to miss this one. And it was a cracking game, wasn't it? And what we liked most about this, if anyone had to score a winner in this game, we were delighted that the man with the finest moustache in PrimeraFederación, Ruben Sanchidrian, was the man to pop up with a stooping header, 7 minutes to go. First win of the season for Cacereno, the home side, of course, although they weren't playing at home. But Merida, a bit worrying, 3 defeats in 4 for them, Nick.
Yeah, it's really not working for Merida, whatever changes they've made. And again, maybe falling foul of the same, issues that we're talking about with Ponfe and with Nasty. It's just a loss of too many good players at the same time and struggling to replace them. But take nothing away from Cacereno here. We've been speaking that, on the day, Cacereno have been playing good football and playing really, really well. They've just been lacking that goal scoring threat. And if Ruben the Stash, as we'll now call him, because there's not a chance I'm going to be able to announce that second name, can keep popping up with goals like this, then I might even grow one in celebration. By the end of the season, I might have a Guadalajara tattoo and a Ruben the Stash style mustache, just to really embrace Primera.
Great look that would be, definitely. I know you love needles, and I know you love stashes. So yeah, there you go. I'm just gonna. Well, I gotta come up with that. How could I top that? That's still a tremendous combo. Anyway, talking about slightly more mundane matters, and they're not mundane for Tenerife fans because they're loving it. I'm sure Tenerife 3 Orense nil, 10 goals in 4 games, still haven't conceded one. Another goal for Di Miguel in this one. I think the fixture list has been fairly kind to them so far, if I'm honest. But really, still, what can you do other than knock over the opposition that you're facing? And they've done that with consummate ease. Next to away at Real Madrid Castilla, and then home to Zamora. So I think those two are quite tough. But if they won those two as well, who knows? They really are looking quite impressive without, as we've said, really turning on the style yet. So it's ominous for the rest of the teams, given that only one side can go up automatically. Talavera Baracaldo next.
Yeah, a decent point on the road for Baracaldo as well. This, especially after their win against Arenas de Getxo last weekend. Oriol Lopez scoring the goal early in the second half, and then got sent off 5 minutes later. That's a great way to celebrate. But I thought they did well to hold on here, and I think Talavera as well will take a point here as well. Especially after going behind.
Yeah, I think overall, not a bad result. They went in front actually, Talavera. Oriol Lopez, I think he's a little bit unlucky here. I really do. I feel like he's been judged the last man, and it is a foul, but there is a covering defender pretty close to it. So I thought that was harsh to get a straight red for that, but he did. And so, yeah, from 0 to 0 in 5 minutes. Osasuna Promesas 1, Real Madrid Castilla 0. Next, Tarazona 0, Marbella 0. I'm sorry, Nick, but I'm falling out of love with Carlos Delema, the Marbella coach. Gabri, an unused sub again in this one. He will point to the fact, of course, that Marbella kept a clean sheet. Not interested. Sort it out, Carlos. You need to get Gabri in your back line. Celta Fortuna next against Arenas de Getxo.
Yeah, Celta Fortuna, to be fair, I kind of dismissed them in the preview shows this season, thinking, they might not have enough to go again. But they are really starting to tick over, and another impressive win here at home against Arenas de Getxo. It's disappointing to see, but wholly not expected. Angelito again having another standout performance. I don't want to dwell on it too much, Liam, but I was a bit sad by the result. But fair play to Celta Fortuna; they're just getting on with it.
Yeah, I think they're nearly always, since they've been in this PrimeraFederación, been there or thereabouts, haven't they? They've certainly been in the playoffs at least once that I can remember. And yeah, they do look quite impressive and playing some nice football, he says through gritted teeth. Team that's not necessarily playing some great football, but is getting it done. Eldense 1, Sevilla Atlético 0. They've now beaten Filiales the last 2 weekends, Eldense, and those 2 wins, both on their own turf, by the minimum score of 1-0. Taking top, I think, a joint top, I think they are, of Grupo Dos. So yeah, I haven't seen anything from them that's really excited me, but they've been effective, shall we say, so far. And 2 wins, 2 draws. That's exactly what you need when you're trying to bounce back from relegation. Atletico San Luqueño against Teruel, Nick.
Yes, a 1-1 draw here. I think, both of these sides will be happy with that result, especially the away side. The visitors did go ahead in the first 60 seconds down in El Palmar, but they couldn't hold on for those 3 points. And they are still looking for their first win of the season, Liam. But, a decent point down in the Cádiz region is not to be shaken at. I want you to tell me about this next game, though.
Yeah, we have done these chronologically, haven't we, Nick, to be fair? So this is the reason why this game has come this far down the list. Those of you thinking, why on earth haven't you mentioned Unionistas yet? Well, it's because it happened on Sunday rather than on Friday or Saturday. But yeah, what a game. Unionistas 3, Real Aviles 2. This is, as I say, it was Mario Simon's first game in the dugout. I think Real Aviles were 2-0 up after about 56 minutes or so. I think the key thing here was that Unionistas got one back really quickly to make it 2-1. Shocking defending from Real Aviles, just a throw in that basically found its way to an Unionistas forward, made a run and no one went with him, and he got inside the box, pulled it back 2-1, no problem. With the Bustos scored an equaliser after that. I think he might be one of their homegrown players. He might be one of those, I think, that's come through, and obviously the Unionistas club hasn't been around for that long, so it's a particularly impressive feat for him to make the first team. I think he may have been there since quite young. So we get to 2-2, and then we get, for me, a dodgy penalty. I don't think this is a penalty at all. Keeper saves it, and then to add insult to injury, FES decides that the keeper's come off his line, orders a retake. Up steps Victor Olmedo, ex of Yeclano Deportivo. We always have to try and get mention of them, don't we? Smashes it home. And yeah, what a turnaround. 2-0 down to 3-2 winners. They haven't scored yet this season until that last half an hour. I think it was over 5 hours without scoring, and then they scored 3 in less than half an hour. And what an amazing confidence boost that is, and for a new coach to come in and get that sort of result in the first game. Brilliant stuff for them. Great club. Delighted for them. A bit gutted for Aviles because I've really liked what I've seen of them so far. But yeah, they shot themselves in the foot here a bit. 2-0. They gave a really silly goal. And yeah, just need to be. And they made a couple of substitutions. I think EC scored both goals. They took him off. It felt a little bit defensive, a little bit negative, and they paid the price for, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree on that. And I think, Real Aviles can take some heart out of this game, but just so good to see Unionistas off the mark. And I think, we spoke about it last week. There just hasn't been something right there since since Aurelio was appointed, really. So good to see Mario Simon kick off with a win. This is a club which, will definitely want to be up there if they can be. And, if they can carry on getting results like this, and they won't be far away. But like you say, there's still a long time to go. Final results of the weekend was Ibiza 1, Antequera 1. I don't think we saw this draw coming after Ibiza went 1-goal up, Liam, but fair play to Antequera. They've got themselves back into it. But Antequera, they need wins. They don't need draws. Not a great season for the boys from El Mauli. But this is an impressive point nonetheless away in the Estadio Camerses, isn't it?
Did you see he scored the goal for Ibiza? David del Pozo, David of the Well. He is our player, Nick. He is the man. He is David from the Well, playing in the Well. I mean, what an appropriate name that is. David del Pozo. Brilliant. Yeah, it was a great point for Antequera, as I say, especially from one down. I think Ibiza created a lot of chances, just couldn't finish them off, and probably overall will be a bit gutted, a bit like I think Alcorcon will feel that they've thrown away 2 points there, really. They should have won the game. But yeah, Antequera, we said all along, haven't we, so far this season, that we can't see them being anywhere near where they were last season. But yeah, keep on picking up points like this, unexpected points away from home at good sides. They should be all right, at least. They should be mid-table, hopefully.
Yes, absolutely. We shall keep an eye on those teams. Shall we look at some games to look at the weekend, Liam? Shall we start with Grupo Uno this time, or do you want to go for Grupo Dos?
No, Grupo Uno is fine.
Cool, let's go for it then. So my first game to watch is, and I want to start a new trend here, Liam. And I know every podcast has got a trend like this, but I'm always going to say, always watch Depor Guadalajara on this one. They play Racing Club de Ferrol on Friday night, 9:30 kickoff Spain time, 8:30 in the UK if you're going to watch. Racing Ferrol blinked at the weekend, like say that loss to Lugo and dropping points, but it's the away side for me that are the danger here, and they seem fearless, they seem polished, and will they make it 3 wins on the bounce, Liam? I do hope so. So I definitely recommend watching that game. Second match of the weekend is maybe a little less glamorous, but still important nonetheless. Orense versus Pontevedra, the return of Ruben Dominguez, 4:15 on Saturday. And I'm sure he will definitely want to go away to Orense and make a bit of a statement win with his new sides. If you are not aware, Orense were his former employers. Last season, he only lasted 5 or 6 games before he was removed and replaced. So I'm sure he'll definitely want to bloody a nose on Saturday afternoon. And then last but not least, Zamora against Merida, Sunday at 4 o'clock. The return of Slava playing against his former club. Obviously, it's going to be in Zamora, so it's not maybe as interesting as going away to Merida, but it'll be interesting to see whether he can get the goals that we've kind of been promised Liam and start putting points on the board for Zamora. On the other side of the coin as well, Merida desperately need to start picking up points too, because it's a very disappointing start to the season for them.
Yeah, very much so. I think that it's not the easiest place to go either, is it? And then try and start picking up points. Yeah, but an interesting one. Obviously, I think Slava was only there for 1 season, so he's not sort of a Merida legend, but he did extremely well in that 1 season. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one for him, and probably quite a strange sensation for him. But yeah, I think Zamora would probably expect to win this game. But yeah, again, if Merida did win it, then that would be a massive boost at a time when they really need it. My 3 games in Grupo Dos: Marbella against Betis Deportivo Saturday at 9 p.m. Solid start for Marbella overall, 1 win, 3 draws. You know, this is the kind of game they have to win if they want to be up there in the Grupo Dos playoffs. Betis Deportivo started poorly, but they aren't a bad side. So this is the kind of game that Marbella really need to impose themselves on and win. Atletico San Luqueño against Cartagena on Sunday at midday. And we've both said, haven't we, that Atletico San Luqueño surprises a little bit this season in terms of how they've started. Well. Cartagena, of course, may be top by the time you're listening to this, because they've got that game to finish against Sabadell tomorrow, and that would winning that would take them top. I think a draw would take them joint top, wouldn't it? So that'll be a decent game, tough place to go, Atletico San Luqueño. So again, if they want to be serious, probably automatic promotion contenders, I think Cartagena they'll need to get a good result over there. And last one, Algeciras against Real Murcia, Sunday at 7:15, 6:15, I think that was actually Spanish time. Yeah, I mean, we've said already, Echeverria's boys aren't really firing all cylinders at the moment. And going to Algeciras is going to be a really tough ask of them. So a win would be a real confidence boost, I think. And certainly, you know, it will be the kind of result that they would feel would be indicative of what they want to achieve this season if they're going to be anywhere near that automatic place as well, contending with Cartagena and possibly Ibiza for the champions title.
Yes, absolutely. I think they need a bit of maybe that Lugo treatment we talk about. They just need a spark for the season, you know, to maybe go on a bit of a run, don't they, around Murcia? And Nueva Mirador is not the easiest place to go to. It's not even the easiest place to play football at the moment. I hope the pitch is looking a little bit better than it has done in previous weeks. But yeah, that should be a very interesting one to watch on Sunday evening. Well, that is the end of this episode, at the end of Jornada 4, Liam. Any plugs for the Spanish Segunda show this week? Any interesting extra bits of content or any interesting games? Depor or top out, if I remember rightly. So it could be this season of Depors, maybe.
It could indeed. Yeah, we could have Depor's doing well in both the one PrimeraFederación. Let's hope so. Yeah, Depor have been very impressive. They go to Eibar this weekend, so that's a pretty big test because they have so far had some fairly easy fixtures, I'd say, for a team of that ability. Then you'd expect them to win the games. But yeah, that should be a cracker. What's coming from El Partido this week, Nick?
Well, if you like things all Athletic Club do Bilbao, then come and join us on El Partido this week, because we have got Christopher Evans joining us to talk about his book Los Leones. We're also going to talk about Athletic Club in Europe as well. Obviously, they returned to the Champions League last week against Arsenal. Great scenes at San Mamés. But as we're a nostalgic podcast, Liam, of course, we're going to talk about Marcelo Bielsa. But, you know, we've naturally got to do that. So we're going to have a good Thursday evening talking to him. Should be out on Friday for everybody to listen. But also, and I know I've been telling a few people now, there are a few teasers out there, do keep an eye on our Patreon. By the end of September, there should be something very interesting on there for our listeners to read. And something about all our trip to Yekla as well, Liam, is going to be in there. So I know that you'll definitely be subscribing to the El Partido Patreon. It's not going to be chargeable. We just need you to be a subscriber to access it. But it's going to be quite a cool, interesting piece of work we've been working on for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, really looking forward to reading that, Nick. I've seen little snippets of it, and it's just whetting my appetite to see the whole article. So great stuff.
Plenty of El Pozo related stuff as well. So definitely worth, if you are a listener to this show, heading over there and checking out too. And also checking out, obviously, Spanish Segunda for all the wonderful things that happen in that league, apart from Malaga at this minute in time. Not doing particularly well, but that's to be expected. Anyway, let's sign off now for El Pozo. It's been absolutely brilliant to talk to you once again, Liam, about all things PrimeraFederación.
Absolute pleasure as always, Nick.
No reason. Thank you to everybody listening at home. Go and check us out on social media as well. Give us a follow where we can keep you up to date with any new episodes, new clips, and new news. And yeah, we'll see you next weekend for a roundup of Jornada 5. So we'll see you then. Hasta luego.